Alright, we're back at it with the next piece for our GeoGebra tutorial. I'm going to open up a clean slate right here of GeoGebra. Now the next thing I want to build are the different centers of triangles. You've got your Incenter, Centroid, Circumcenter, and Orthocenter. Now if you don't remember what these are, I'm going to take a screenshot from a website real quick. And I'm going to paste this in. So if you copy and paste an image from the internet or anywhere, you can go edit, insert an image from the clipboard. So there's the thing I just grabbed. So we're going to see if we can build these. These are a great way to explore a lot of a little more advanced functions of GeoGebra. It gives us a chance to play with a lot of the other buttons to build these different triangles and their centers. And we're going to see if we can make them look nice and pretty and get them to work. So first one we're going to try out is the Incenter. So this is the point where the three angle bisectors meet. And I'm going to put another definition on here for us. Whoa, too big. Okay. We'll stick that right there. So I'll straighten it out. Okay, let's get ourselves a triangle. So I'm going to grab the polygon tool. That's the fifth one over, and it's just the default option on it. So let's go 1, 2. You just click, drop your points. Now to close it, click right back to where you started. Okay, so we've got triangle EFG right here. Now we want to get the angle bisectors of all these. Now in our previous tutorial we did the angle bisector by scratch. Now we're not going to do that. It's a lot of work. And you may have noticed too in the other video, I pulled up this menu and there is a tool for it right here. So we could have cheated and done this, but that kind of defeats the whole point of when we did it by scratch. But I'm not going to torture us by trying to do that every time. It would be awesome. We could try it, but we're going to use the tool. So angle bisector. So that's this one right here where all these different line tools are. Select 3 points or 2 lines. I'm going to select my points. So let's go from here to there. So to get your 3 points in order. Now let's do the next one. F to click on E, to click on G, and it did it. Now, if I talked about it before, remember, it's going to hold the tool until I click back to the cursor or hit escape. So since the tool is still active, I can click on E and then G and then F, and there's my angle bisectors. Now I want to plot a point right there. So let's get back to let's get the point tool. Actually, let's use intersect points. And this thing is only going to, well, is it going to get all 3? Yeah, right there. Okay. Got all 3. Now I'm going to give my cursor back. I'm going to right click on this point and go to properties. Because it automatically just named it boring old point H. Let's call it let's put it in caps. Let's put it in the Incenter. You know what? Let's make it look even better than that. Let's make it look. Alright, that's good. We'll leave it like that. That looks a little better. So there's our Incenter. Now if we want, we could get rid of these lines. If you remember I talked about it last time, you could click on a line and then, or right click on it and you can toggle show object and we could turn these off. I'm going to hit Control Z. Alright, I don't want to hide them. I want to keep it here. I want to keep them here as a guideline to see them, but if I right click on it and go to properties, we can go over to style and I'm going to make it dashed. And if you leave the preference box open, you can click on another object and change that one without having to right click on each one of them. I'm just going to make them dashed, and that looks good. Because they're still there, but I don't want them being the highlight of the screen. So now if I move my triangle or I change any of these points, that center stays just how I defined it. Now the incenter is cool because that is the center of the circle inscribed where all the sides of the triangle would be tangent to the circle. Let's build it and you can see what I mean. So let's go pick our circle tool, and we just need the default one, circle through point. Oh, you know what we need to do first? We're gonna need a point to hook this thing to. Let's get our intersection. And there we go. You could have picked any one of these three, but we need that because I need to do my circle from the center. I just need something to click on, something to hook it to. Oh, time out 1 second. Okay, that circle wasn't quite going to work. Here's what, I got a little ahead of myself. If we want to get our Incenter, our inscribed circle to work, now, like I said, the sides of this triangle are going to be tangent to that circle, which means these are going to be perpendicular to the radius. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give ourselves one line, and we're not going to need this point H anymore, so I'm going to delete it. We're going to need to do a perpendicular to this point to get our circle to work. Everything we've built so far is fine. So if you drew that other circle, you could just click on it and delete it. I'm going to do this. Let's go to our special line tool, and we need a perpendicular line. And if you hover on it, we select a point and a line. So if I select this point and that line, there we go. So with this line being perpendicular to that side of the triangle, this is the intersection where I want my circle to touch. Your circle's not touching on the angle bisector. So I'm going to put a point there. Now, if I go for my circle tool, I can go from the Incenter and click it to that point right there. Get your cursor back out. Now that circle is going to stay barely touching each side, tangent to each of those sides. There's the inscribed center of that. Now I don't want this line anymore, so I'm going to toggle the show. I don't need that point, and that should do it right there. So I've got my Incenter, and I've got my inscribed circle. All right, that looks nice. I'm going to save this one, and let's get a clean page. Let's try the next one. So let's save it as our Incenter. Okay, let's get a new document. Now let's try doing our let's try doing the Orthocenter. So I just copied a screenshot to put in so we have our definition. Okay, the Orthocenter is made from the three altitudes. And I've got a definition for that too. So here's our altitudes. Okay, so an altitude is the segment drawn from a vertex perpendicular to the opposite side. Let's see if we can build that. So get your polygon tool, and 1, 2, 3, and then back to where we started. Okay, now we got a triangle. Hit escape, turn off your polygon tool. Let's see if we can do this right. We need an altitude, so that's going to be perpendicular from a side and goes through the point across from it. Now, we could do the classic compass and straight edge like we did in the first video, but we're going to use the tool that's built. They're tricky enough already. So we want perpendicular line. Now, not the bisector. It doesn't say anything about it bisecting. Just perpendicular. So if I click on a side, and then I go click on a point. So there's one. Click on a side. So I'm perpendicular to that line, and I want to go through the point across, and then this side to that point. Now don't be alarmed, and notice the point is not inside the circle. The orthocenter isn't necessarily in the circle. But we're still going to mark the point. So we want an intersection of these three lines. Good. Now I'm going to change the properties of that point like we did the other one. And let's name it. Now, while we're at it, I'm going to click on these lines, and oh, I got too many things clicked. Let me close that. Hit escape. If you notice, I had more than one thing selected. Hit escape, unclick that. Okay, I'm going to change the properties of these lines. Like I did in the other one, I'm going to change their style to dashed. Because I want them there, because I like knowing what they're doing and what's happening on my page, but I don't want them becoming the highlight of it. Okay, so now if I move any of these, there, I can see where my orthocenter is going. Now, your orthocenter isn't necessarily inside the triangles we saw. Can you tell what the condition would be that would change that? If I make this angle become a right angle, now this is me just cheating and eyeballing it, but you can tell what happens to orthocenter. It's going to land on the vertice. If I go obtuse, it's going to land out of the triangle. So acute, it'll be in the triangle. Obtuse, it'll be outside the triangle. All right, we're going to leave that one. I think this one's good. We're going to leave that one alone. I'm going to save it and get a clean page. File, new. Okay, so the next one let's do the circumcenter. So I grabbed my screenshot. I'm going to post it in. So let's grab the circumcenter. And we need the perpendicular bisectors of each side. Okay, and I think we know what those mean. We're not going to grab a definition for that one. So let's get our triangle built. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we need the perpendicular bisector for each side. So we got a tool for that. Grab our special lines tool, pull it down. There it is, perpendicular bisector. If I click on one of the sides, there it is. Click on another side, there it is. Click on the other side, and there it is. And there's the point they all go through. So let's do like we did on the other ones. I'm going to get the intersection tool, mark that at all three, and I'm going to hit the properties. Right click and grab the properties at that point. We're going to make it look a little better. Blue, and let's change the name to the Circumcenter. Good. And these are the lines. Pull up the properties. Style, we're going to make these dashed, all three, so we can see them, but we don't want them looking too important. Oop, I missed it. Did I get it? Oh. Ah. Let me try again. I think I clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. Got it. So no matter where I move my triangle, those are going to hold. Now the circumcenter is the center of the circumscribed circle. So all three of these points could be on the same circle if it was centered right there. Okay, so to finish this up, let's grab the circle tool and the center. We're doing center through point, the default one. So the center's on the circumcenter, and you could really just go to any point as long as we define it to any of them. All three of those points are equidistant from the circumcenter. That's why they're all going to land on it. So from D to the circumcenter, C to the circumcenter. So let's just put on any one of them. As long as we click on it, we're good. and you can see it pass to the other one. Now, if you remember, if I click out here, I can, told you I would do this. Control Z, get rid of that. Hit escape. I need to turn off the circle tool. What I was saying was if you grab out here, we can drag and move this a little bit. Let's move my triangle. Make it a little smaller. And no matter how we do our triangle, that circumcenter is going to work. Now, you might remember if you take the diameter on your circle, the inscribed angle is always 90 degrees. Now, I know I just eyeballed this, but you can tell how that looks. All right, we'll bring it back down right there. And that's pretty good. There's our circumcenter. I'm going to make my circle look a little better. Let's go to Style. Yeah, that's better. There we go. So there's our circumcenter and our triangle. I'm going to save this one and get a new page. We got one more. Get a new one. All right. Now the last one is the centroid. I'm going to put a screenshot in. Now this is where the three medians meet. And if you forgot what the medians of a triangle were, there we go. This is the segment with one endpoint on the vertex and the other at the midpoint on the opposite side. So the circumcenter was the midpoint on each side, but it was perpendicular. This isn't necessarily going to be perpendicular. Vertex to midpoint. That'll be our median. So let's get our triangle tool and connect all three. We have a fresh triangle. So the centroid, we need all three of these midpoints. So I'm going to go to the point tool. I think it's under points. Yep. Midpoint or center. That's the one we want right here. So if I click on a line, drops a midpoint, drops a midpoint, drops a midpoint. Now we need to do some lines. Let's grab the line tool, and we just want the default line. So from point to vertex, point to vertex. That wasn't point to vertex. Control Z, point to vertex, point to vertex. There we go. And all three of these intersect the same. So let's get our intersection point and mark these. Okay, I'm going to right click on it, change the properties. Let's change the name to Centroid. Let's spell it right. Good, I like that. Now I'm going to make these dotted again, so right click and go to properties. There's my third one. I think I did it again. Let's right click on it. Okay, now the centroid. Very good. So let's see if it holds and where I move it. Good. Now the centroid is the center of mass. So it's the balancing point for this triangle. So if you made one of these and you found the point to balance your triangle at on your fingertip, it'd be right here at the center. So we're going to leave a little note for that. We're going to call it, let's say, the center of gravity. Excuse me. All right, so there we go. So now we've got our triangle, we've got our points all labeled, and everything looks good. Awesome. I'm going to save this one, and I'm going to wrap up this video. We're going to come back to one more piece and do some quadrilaterals. Awesome.